Hello everyone, this is Mumbo and welcome back to another Minecraft video, and in this one we're going to be doing something really quite special. As you guys know, when I record my videos, generally speaking I record them in takes and then I put all of those cuts together to create what I think is a really quite professional and interesting video. Now today, we aren't going to be doing that. We're going to try our best to record 50 different redstone contraptions in just one take, and I have to say I think this is going to be one of the most frustrating recording sessions of my entire life, because I'm one of those people, I don't like messing up my words and I don't like fumbling about with things, so this could take a very long time indeed. But anyway, the first redstone circuit that we're going to be taking a look at is this little thing right here. This is known as the NOT gate, and as you can see it turns this redstone signal, inverts it and gives an output. Very nice and simple. Now this thing right here is known as the AND gate. If both inputs are on, then we'll get ourselves an output, but if one of the inputs is turned off, then that means that we won't be getting an output. Now the OR gate sort of does the opposite. If you have one input, then you'll get yourself an output. If you have both inputs, then you get yourself an output. The only time that you don't get an output is when neither of the inputs are on. Now this circuit over here is known as a monostable circuit. This is a one-tick monostable, and it uses a sticky piston with a block facing upwards to get ourselves a one-tick pulse. But you can do it using a dropper and a hopper, and this is known as the dropper-hopper monostable. Now this is known as a dual-edge monostable circuit. Unlike those ones, this gives a one-tick pulse at the beginning and the end of the input, which is really quite useful for various different things like double piston extenders, and that has been made so much simpler by the addition of the observer block, as you can see right there. Now this right here is known as a T flip-flop. It makes use of a one-tick monostable with a sticky piston and a block on its face to give ourselves a solid output when you hit the button, and when you hit the button once again, we get ourselves another solid output. It's called a T flip-flop because you toggle the output, but this thing right here is a much smaller and much simpler version that doesn't use quite as many resources. Now we are going to be moving on from all of that sort of stuff, and we're going to be taking a look at redstone clocks. Now this thing right here is probably one of the oldest redstone circuits in Minecraft. This is the repeater redstone clock, but then over here we have got a slightly newer one that is also just a tiny bit better, known as the hopper clock, that can be toggled on and off using this lever. Now if you want something just a tiny bit faster, we've got the comparator clock, and if you want something a lot slower, then we have got this thing right here known as the hopper clock. Now what we've got is two hoppers running into one another. Gradually the items travel from this hopper into that hopper, and when they have done that, this redstone block will move across, and then the items will start transferring back and back and back. It basically goes back and forth, but you get a massive delay between various different redstone pulses. Moving on from that one, we have got the redstone torch burnout clock, which once again is incredibly quick, and this is what we used to do before we had the comparator clock. And now we have something that actually makes use of various different comparator clocks, which is the automatic dropper system. All we have to do is place some items on the inside of this dropper, and as you can see, it chucks all of them out, just throwing them all out on the floor. Now moving away from all of the redstone clocks, we have got double piston extenders. This right here is a very simple horizontal double piston extender, but as you can see, it's not actually flush with the wall, so you might want to build something that looks a little bit like this, which is completely flush with the wall, so you can hide that away inside all of your wall areas there. But horizontal ones, you know, they're not particularly interesting. Maybe you want a vertical one. This one will probably do the trick, and if you want something really special, you can have this flush with the floor vertical double piston extender, which works really quite nicely. As you can see, we have to use a redstone torch to power that top piston, but it seems to function pretty well. Now moving on from that one, we have got the downwards double piston extender, which works exactly the same as all of the previous ones, so we're going to move away from those and take a look at some randomizers. Now this is a randomizer where if we hit the button, we don't know if we're going to get ourselves an output. So as you just saw there, we didn't get an output on that one. The output is this redstone right here. But on this one, we did manage to get ourselves an output, and that is because there is a 1 in 2 chance of getting an output from this thing. But what if you want multiple outputs? Well, this is a very similar system, but as you can see on that one, we managed to get ourselves one output through there, and then on this one, we managed to get, once again, the output through there. In fact, I've actually got my redstone a tiny bit incorrect right there. it's meant to look a little bit like this. So there was the one output, and then if we hit the button once again, we should see that we get that output right there. But as you can tell, it is completely random. You have no clue which one you're going to be getting. Now this is a very old school type of randomizer. This is known as the chicken randomizer. So as you can see, the chicken is currently standing on the pressure plate, which means we get ourselves an output. When he's not standing on the pressure plate, we don't get ourselves an output. Now this one right here is known as the lava blade. When we hit that button, we should see that we'll get lava dispensed and they're retracted really very quickly, which is very useful for things like mob spawners. If you want to kill off lots of mobs really quite quickly, then you can do that. It will set all of them on fire. Or for example, I've used this little thing inside my cow farm recently to kill off all of the cows. Now over here we have got another really quite interesting dropper circuit. This is known as the Ender Station, and it gives you exactly 16 Ender Pearls with the press of a button. Now that is something that I personally really quite like. Now pulse extenders are one of those things that I should have had earlier on in the video, but I sort of forgot about them, so they're going at this point in time. This right here is the original pulse extender. As you can see, it sort of works, but it's a little bit on the rubbish side, but the pulse definitely does get extended. This, however, is a much better design. As you can see, we hit that button and we get ourselves a much longer pulse extension, and this is a much bigger design. I mean, you can see this pulse is going to last a very long time indeed. I mean, look how much that is being extended. It's probably about 10 times the length of the original pulse, and finally it goes back on through. But if you want the biggest pulse extender possible, then you have to use this little thing right here, which uses a similar theory to the hopper clock, but it works in a slightly different fashion. And instead of having a sticky piston over here, it has a regular piston, which means when you hit that button, the redstone block moves this way, all of the items travel across into this hopper over here. Then once they've run out, all of the items travel from this hopper back into this hopper, then this piston pushes that redstone block back across and it stays over there. So essentially, it extends out your pulse. Now this is a really interesting redstone clock circuit that only runs for a certain length of time. So when we hit this button right here, you can see that the redstone clock kicks into action, but then eventually it turns off. Now that sort of thing is useful for a number of different circuits. Perhaps you want to have a redstone clock that only works for a certain length of time. That is definitely the correct way to go about it. Now onto the piston doors, or should I say redstone doors, because yeah, that is a very simple redstone circuit there. So let's move on from that one and take a look at this thing right here. This is known as the 2x2 piston door, and it uses some very simple redstone mechanics. I'm sure all of you have seen this thing before. But moving on from that, we have got the 2x2 slime block door, which actually drops down into the ground. Now this thing right here is probably one of my favorite piston doors, just because I know how difficult these things were to build before slime blocks were added into the game. We used to have massive redstone circuits that were absolutely enormous, and now we can just build it in this tiny space right here. But speaking of slime block extenders and everything like that, I thought it would be fun to build a massive one. As you can see right here, this thing is absolutely huge. I think it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 piston extender. I mean, that thing is absolutely bonkers. But of course, slime blocks are good for a number of different things. For example, this is a straight up vertical slime block launcher. Then over here we have got the vertical and horizontal slime block launcher. These used to work so much better. I don't know what's happened to them, but apparently they're not working so well anymore. But then we have got the rather interesting TNT launcher as well, which will fire your TNT off into the distance. And here we have the splash potion launcher. Now this is actually one of those things that I haven't really used too often, but seriously, that is really, really cool. Anyway, over here we have got ourselves a little sorting system. If we were to place TNT inside this chest, then it would be sorted out and put inside the chest there, which is brilliant for doing mass storage systems that are fully automatic. Here we have a similar circuit, but this is known as the card reader system. So only if you place TNT inside this dropper right here, it will travel back and forth and you'll get yourself a redstone output. If we place anything else on the inside of this thing, you can see we hit the button and we don't get ourselves a redstone output, which is pretty cool and really good for security. But there are plenty of other ways to deal with security. For example, this right here is known as a redstone torch key. As you can see, we get ourselves a redstone output when we place in a redstone torch, which is useful for hidden bases and everything like that. And here we have one of the original redstone circuits from my YouTube channel. if you till this soil right here, as you can see, we get a redstone output. It's so simple because, of course, farmland is completely transparent. Now, speaking of hidden bases and everything like that, if we flick this lever, you can see we have a completely flush with the wall door, just like that. And this one right here is a 2x2 version, which is looking incredibly fancy. Now, this is a trapdoor variant, once again, completely flush with the floor. You wouldn't even know it was there. And this is what I like to call the smart flush with the floor trapdoor. As you can see, we stand on this slime block right here, we hit this button, and we can get launched outwards, which is brilliant because these things are really, really difficult to get out of if you've used them for your hidden base. Now, if we're going to be taking a look at more security measures, of course, you could construct some form of combination lock. This right here is known as a lever combination lock. Now, the way that you make button combination locks is using RS NOR latches, which this is an RS NOR latch. Once again, this is one of those redstone circuits that probably should have gone right at the very start, but I sort of forgot about it. I'm sorry about that. But if we hit this button, as you can see, we get a redstone output. If we hit the button again, the output stays the same, and it's only if we hit this button that changes the redstone output. And you can use these buttons and these RS NOR latches to create button selector panels. So we hit this button right here, you can see that this one is selected, and we hit this button over here, and as you can see, this one gets selected, which is really very useful. And now onto the final redstone contraption of today's video. I did it! I managed to do all 50 redstone contraptions in just one take. Now let's fire some fireworks. Are you serious? The last one. I forgot to put the fireworks in the dispenser. The last circuit. I did so many takes before this. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to end today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next one.